You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that.
Let's go.
I don't know why. I mean, I actually this time I actually got goosebumps. So I'm watching this thing. We're coming off Prime Days at Amazon, and it's like I'm still feeling the buzz. I can't believe what a frenzy it is. It's like it's a thing. If anything is unbelievable, it is Amazon Prime, and the whole world, the Prime Days, the billion people that are coming. It's just nuts. Very exciting. And we're on Amazon now too, aren't we?
That's right. And so if anybody here is watching Dan Jordan live on any other, we're on 628,498 different channels right now. Actually, we're on like 8, but one of them is Amazon Live. So if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on LinkedIn, oh man, if you're watching on Twitter, the place to be is on Amazon. And because Dan, our guests, they've got a podcast available on Amazon. Obviously, these guys know a lot about tech, and all of that stuff is available on Amazon. So you might as well go there. We made it easy for you. All you got to do is go to thepitchman.live, and that'll take you right to Amazon, right to this show, and right here where you can party with the Deej.
Yeah, that's right. And this particular, I'm so, I really am excited. I think my goosebumps were coming because of the guests. I'll tell you, because, growing up, and you know this story, but maybe a lot of people don't. My dad was an immigrant from France, came here with 2 suitcases, nothing. But what he had, and I was always jealous of him, so now I'm jealous of these guys. What he had was that like, start from nothing, Western European immigrant, streets are paved with gold. Go make this happen. It's the free country. It's your time to make it. Hell be damned, just go after it with reckless abandon. That was kind of inbred in him. And, I've always, as an American born here, I've always had it's a little cushion, a little safety net. And what happens is, as soon as there's if somebody gives you a base, like this is what
like
I was
base, like a base.
Yeah. If somebody gives you a base to fall on, that's like a cushion, and you get too comfortable with that, it's not long after that before they build up some walls and a roof. And then you're kind of limited to where you go. So you can meet guys like our guests that are coming right now with limitless possibilities, and they just give you energy just by talking to them. So bring them out here already. I'm sick and tired of looking at myself.
Oh my God. I feel like the introduction's already done, but absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to Dan Jordan Live, the co-founders of BIZBROS, and also the co-hosts of the fantastic podcast Content is Profit. Would you please welcome Luis Fonzi and Luis D. Camejo?
Let's go! Some people you have to coax to get their arms in the air. But these guys.
They didn't have the sort of pitch today, so I'm all for it, guys. I'm all for it.
It was real. We were like, let's do it.
Well, so let me tell you, Chris Stone, how I met these guys. It was was it through Todd, guys?
Yeah, it's wonderful Todd.
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, so Todd has a company that he helps people get on each other's podcasts and things like that, and it's a business. And he told me, the first people he told me about was, dude, you got to check out these guys. They're they're lighting the world on fire. And so I got on their podcast, and it's like, we kept on one-upping each other, because they're like full of energy. When I left them, I had a sore throat.
So a little bit of a Red Bull for your ears. It's like, what? Every morning.
There's I do have to watch it sometimes, but I was actually told, of course, by my wife, and she says, sometimes your volume is offensive.
Yeah, we were lucky. We used to have a share office, one of those co-working spaces. And
oh gosh,
we got lucky that the people that we had next to us, they were bored out of their minds. So when we started, with the show and being loud, they were like, wow, it's nice to have some change around here. But now I'm pretty sure they're happy that we move out of those offices.
I know.
Well, so I got kicked out, but why don't you tell well, first of all, what do you do? And then the real thing is, how did you get started? Because that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a company, we help people on shows and live shows like this multi-purpose their content, leverage what they're already creating that is super wonderful, that have so much like value in it, but sometimes we just like leave out there. So that's where people like us and our company comes in, and we're like, we grab those, what we call golden boulders, right? And we create incredible content for them, leveraging and creating that consistency over time, whether that's, internet marketing, social media, anything that comes after that, right? So that's where we come in. We provide those plug-in teams for those shows and companies.
That is so important. So it's because there's a lot of really good providers out there, and they make good contact, and it kind of sits in their drawer at home. How do you get it out?
Yeah, so that was a question that we actually started asking ourselves, and we're like, how can we leverage what we're already creating, right? Or our clients were already creating, and we do that. And we have a system. It's called the M2M. It's a framework that literally any long form content we can plug in there. And then the other side, output. What is your desired output? What is your dream scenario? Where do you want to go, right? Because at the end of the day, we talk a lot about sales and cold calling on our show with you, right? But it's about the points of contact. How am I top of mind? How am I in front of my audience, especially in these fast-paced social media channels that we have today, right? Everything happens so quickly, right? So it's like, okay, how can I show up repeatedly, high quality, high volume, high value, and the system is there. So
do you ever let your brother talk, or is that how it works?
No.
He likes, so this is what we do. When we host our show, I talk. When we're guests, he just goes all bonkers over here.
Once he starts talking, that's it. Game over. I can leave. So, I gotta get it in early.
Yeah, we rushed to see who answers the question first.
Well, this is really what everybody wants to know. Which one does your mother like best?
I mean, that's a easy answer, and that is our third brother. No, I'm kidding. we don't have. Well, I mean, we have another brother from my dad's first marriage, but my mom has confidently says that she likes me better than my brother. Yeah. But she didn't want to throw that in here.
I did leave home when I was 15, so I was like out of the house early, so they had to deal with him a little bit more, share more love with him. That's fine. That's a story for another time. Maybe we'll see.
Well, when your mother is asked which is her favorite, she just answers Luis.
Absolutely.
And then it's done. You don't have to worry about why. I have to figure this out. Like, she just decided that she would name two of her sons the same.
That's a great question. That is a great question.
Should we bring Sylvia into the show? Welcome. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. She's not here. We're like, okay.
So it's pretty common back home in Venezuela for families to share first name. My dad, his name is Mario. And in his first marriage, his older son is Mario. His dad is Mario. My sister's name is Marion, which is a French name, but it sounds kind of like Mario, right? Yeah. And so when my dad married my mom was like, no more Marios in this family. We're going to name them both Luis and Luis. But this is what we discovered throughout the years, right? After we started diving into this marketing world and sales, we discovered that our mom was a secret marketer. because the fact that we're both named Luis and Luis is such a wonderful identifier that people always remember. When we introduce ourselves, they're like, oh yeah, the Luis brothers, Luis and Luis. Like, I'm telling you, it's very difficult for people to forget who we are just because of the name at first. Hopefully, after the name comes a lot of value and a great relationship, right? But usually the name helps incredibly for people to remember us. So now we say that our mom is a secret marketer.
She's brilliant. That's awesome. That's a great, I'm telling you that, one of the things that people don't do, everybody has little, kind of quirks and oddities in their life. I might have several, but I think it's really tough to encourage people to embrace them. I mean, those little quirks and oddity, that's what makes you, and you used the word yesterday, Chris Stone, memorable. Yeah. So wants to have that. So let's say, how do you take somebody who has no content? I got nothing, I'm a lawyer and, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to do that. I want to deal with real humans. Let's say I'm an accountant. All right. Yeah. Accountants are good. So an accountant guy, I'm an accountant. I have an accountant type of personality, but I need to get out. I need to differentiate myself and create some certain content that's not so dry. Do you help me make the content, or do you just say, hey, make your own stuff and then we'll get it out for you?
Yeah. So today we have solutions at every level, really, right? Like we go from a challenge that we call the 45 Live Challenge, which is for people to transition from consumer to creator, right? That's the first step. We got to make that transition mentally on how to start creating. Right after that, there's a couple of workshops that we hold to keep people accountable for and build their own frameworks and systems, right? Because each business is completely different. Each creation process is completely different.
Each person's capacity is totally different. Each person's
capacity. And then for the service side of things, we do deal with a very specific type of content, which is what we found is the most leverage, which is long form video content, right? So with that said, there's a concept that we share a lot, which is a publishing pyramid, right? Like, and we came across this while publishing, right? We were in another interview and they asked us like, hey, how do you guys see this whole publishing machine? How do you guys tackle that? And as we reviewed our framework on how we started identifying 4 key elements, right? So the first one that we normally see, right? And we got to understand this from the top bottom. So the first one that we see at the top, right, is normally their resources. So picture Gary Vee, for example. This guy's everywhere. He's like, he has 3 specific TikTok editors, right? Those resources, most people don't have them, right? When they're starting to publish, right? Maybe they have a ton of money, right? But we still got to understand the process around it.
Wait, hold on. This is great stuff, but I want you to talk 3rd grade level. So when you say publishing, are you talking about creating the content, like having the act? And when you say resources, you're talking about human beings?
About human beings, money, like time,
like microphones and whatever you need to create the content, all that stuff. By the way, which is available on Amazon.
Absolutely.
Go and click and get it right there. So what you can imagine from when we say publishing is the whole process from creating the content to hitting the publish button and putting it out into the world.
So the first thing that we got to understand is like exactly what are those resources, right? Do I have enough time to create the volume that I really want to model, for example, right? Like if I'm trying to model somebody, do I actually have the money, right, to invest in maybe equipment? Which, by the way, if you're in Amazon, go purchase everything that's right below. And then if you have the time to actually create your desired output, right? So there's going to be an image of your perfect content. What is that? And then we work backwards. Right below, right, is capacity. So on capacity is like how much is the time that either my team or me have to dedicate to this, right? For example, you guys have an incredible team, right? So your capacity is going to be a little bit different than somebody that's just starting up. Maybe they don't have a team. Maybe they don't have somebody that can rely to book their guests, right? For like Todd, for both of us, for example, right? So, okay, what is my capacity? So when we first started, I'm going to bring it down to starting up, right?
Yes, yeah, because that's where most people are. Yeah,
exactly. So what we did was, okay, we got to a meeting and a bunch of business owners were like, well, that's great what you guys do with other people, but what is your stuff, right? And we're like, oh, man, there's nothing. Like at that point, we weren't publishing, right? This happened about 3 years ago. And we're like, how do we actually go? So we have to have this conversation and we're like, okay, we don't have a team. We don't have money to hire a team. We only have maybe 1 hour a day that we can dedicate to this. So our commitment, right, is 1 hour, like one Facebook Live a day, whether that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, whatever. Like that's our commitment, right? And that leads me to the next stage, which is consistency. What is your commitment to consistency? You guys have a show that goes out, was it every week, every couple of days? Like it's present, right, in a very specific time frame. So for publishing, if it's Facebook Live, how often are you going to do it? If it's an Instagram post, how often are you going to do it? If it's a show, how often are you going to do it? With our show, it's 3 times a week, for example, right? So, and then right below that is the message. That's the base of everything, right? So what is my message? Who am I talking to? Like, who are my dream customers? Where do I want to find them in that journey, right?
How am I positioning myself, right?
Exactly. How am I positioning my show, the message that I share to the world? Once we understand that, then we got to start executing from the bottom up, right? So the idea to kickstart that production of content is remove as much friction as possible, right? So for example, if my ideal thing is a show, which by the way, we did try to launch a show a couple of years back called Brews and Bros. Well, first off, we would have been alcoholics by now. But the whole setup, only the setup took us about an hour to do, right? So that's really not scalable to do it, right?
I'm going to give you an image of the setup. It was 10 p.m. at night. We were just finished watching an online course. And the idea of the whole podcast was we're going to review this thing as a podcast. And that way we'll get our message out into the world. So we would go into my room at the moment, and we had a big light. We had like 2-3 cameras, and then the table with the microphones, everything. It would take us an hour to set up in my bedroom. Let me tell you, it looked super weird. Not gonna lie. Every time my girlfriend would get in there, she was like, "What are you guys doing here?" I was like, "Babe, I promise it's a podcast. Nothing to worry about." And then this is where most of the friction came to: perfectionism. Right? We would sit in front of the mics and start talking. And if 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, we will make a mistake, we will be like, no, let's go back to the beginning. Let's start over. Yes, it was that bad. Also, we weren't going live at the moment, right? So I think going live removes a lot of that friction. It helps you deal with what most people would call failure, right? I mean, now at this point we call it testing. If we make a mistake, it's kind of fun because now you learn to embrace yourself, and it actually makes it more enjoyable. People see it in a more authentic way, and now you're using that as leverage to build an audience. But at first it was just that perfectionism, right? And we would scrape everything. We recorded 5 episodes. We published 0. So when it comes down to removing the friction, we started telling ourselves, quality of the message over quality of the production at first to get started. So what I would tell the accountant Dan right here would be, how much time do you have a day to commit to publishing? And everything that you think you need to add to that video, probably you need to take it off, because that's all going to be friction. And you just need to show up consistently at first and practice your message, right?
That's exactly right.
Differentiator we're going to be.
And some of that friction is also feeling like an idiot when nobody shows up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, and having people mock you and all that stuff. That's funny. I love all the words you're using. I can tell we read the same books when you're talking about testing. You know, that's a marketing thing. No such thing as failure, only testing. Very good. But you had said there was a book that you really loved that got you started.
Yes. So that was more into the online marketing world, right? And a little bit of background here. I actually didn't enjoy reading that much. We grew up in a household where our dad loves to read. He would read a lot. He has a massive library, but we love to play soccer. We wanted to be outside playing soccer all the time. And for him, the punishment, and just so you know, we love our dad. Dad, we love you if you're watching this. His punishment was go into your room, no TV, no nothing. You got to read, right? So we grew up seeing reading a little bit of as a punishment. But when we started transitioning into the entrepreneurial world, right after our dream of becoming a soccer player kind of like got crushed one day, we decided to start reading books, right? Because who are we going to go find? How are we going to find these mentors? Well, books are the perfect tools. And I remember looking one day online in Google, I was like, how to make money online, right? I mean, who doesn't do that when they're starting their own business? And this book by Russell Brunson dot-com secrets
Yes.
book popped up. I think it was literally the year that he just launched that book. At the moment,
For those of you who don't know, Russell Brunson, he's ClickFunnels. He's the ClickFunnels guy, and he does all that. But he learned all his stuff from the other masters, from the Dan Kennedys and from all that. And
which by the way, we've gone back to those people, right? Like
the principles at the end of the day
is the principle of like how do we actually operate either a business, and in our case, like a publishing platform.
Yeah, and your long form sales letter, which is what this is. But you didn't mention one thing that all those letters have, and all podcasts ought to have too, on your 3 levels. And what about the ask? Each one of your things has to have an ask, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that's a transition between the pyramid, because the pyramid is for execution, right? Like we gotta create something first to then connect it to profit. So how do we connect that to the profit of the business, right? Obviously, we need to send them somewhere, but through that is the ask, or what we call the call to action, right? What's that transition? And we have a very fun story with, like, when we first started our first internal challenge of 45 Live, we would say, okay, what is our initial framework? How are we actually going to operate this, right? How are we actually going to do it consistently? And we decided to do, our simple framework, at least in my case, Fonzie was a little bit more complicated than this, but for me was, I'm actually going to tell a story of something that I learned today through the books that I read or what I learned online, right? And I'm going to relate it to what we do as a business. And then I'm going to tell them to connect with me, right? That was my entry point, because at that point we were trying to see what was the market asking for, like what are the problems, what are the objections that they're doing around our theme, right? Which was content, right? So that was a call to action. And then one day we're like, let's do this experiment. We're actually going to paint and
connect with me. Where were you doing this, on Facebook?
Everything on social media.
Okay.
So Facebook, Instagram, and a little bit of LinkedIn that at the time.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, let's do this experiment. Let's grab this piece of paper and let's draw a number 5, a big number 5, literally Sharpie and highlighter, right? And then we're gonna do a video, and we're actually gonna be super clear.
Well, it was actually just a picture.
It was just a picture, right?
5, yeah.
And we posted that picture. I did a video, I remember, at night at Starbucks, like complimenting that picture. But it was like, hey, we're looking for 5 people that fit this profile, right? I need somebody that's already like struggling with content. Like what do you need? I'm looking for 5. Send me a DM today, because we're able to jump on a call and we're able to help you, right? Well, we got 20 people responding to that specific call to action. No comments, no like, no nothing.
That's great.
20 people reach out on DMs. They're like, I'm interested, right? They raise their hands. And that was such a fun conversation, because out of those 20 people, we were able to discover objections. What were they struggling with? What was their problems in that specific solution? And that was really the beginning of what we do now. So we're like, wow, what a valuable resource, right? And it was because we did the ask, like you said, like, hey, if you want this, come meet me here, right? Whatever that location is. For us, is always being DMs, because we live on social. That's what we do, like with the content, right? But it could be a phone call, it could be a landing page, it could be a funnel, it could be like, what is that landing place?
No ask, no money.
No ask, no money.
That for those people watching and those people who are marketing and salespeople themselves, understand what they did. They didn't force their product onto anybody. They didn't say, hey guys, you need this. What they did was they asked the customer, what problems are you having? And based on that, they developed their solution. So that's very strong. You're getting the answers from the customer themselves. And if they tell you what their problems are and what they need, and then you come up with the solution, baby, you don't got to worry about selling. They're just too busy buying.
Love it.
Yeah.
Take my money.
Hey, that's all business, right? You're here to solve other people's problems.
That's it. So the accountant, you do it. So you got the accountant set up. They're making all sorts of products, all sorts of content. They're feeling good about themselves. They're getting out. People are stopping them in the streets. They're getting pats on the back. People buy them hot dogs at the baseball game. Everything's good, right? And then what? What do you do with that stuff? I mean, does it just die? Is it, you use it once and then see you later, potato?
Well, no, we continue to produce, right? So that's the thing, is consistently. If we've studied a lot of content creators, right? And the one thing that they really have in common is consistency on creation, right? Like We go on, let's say YouTube, right? Like this incredible creator called Mr. Beast, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mr. Beast.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful
Huge
creator. 60 million subscribers, right? And over the last
60 million subscribers. Are you serious?
Dan, you're almost there. You're good. You're almost there.
Hey, we're closing the gap. We're closing the gap over here.
Every single day. But here's the catch, right? He's grabbed a lot of attention lately because he was able to find those resources, right? Money and people and team, right? To self-fund his publishing pyramid in this case, right? And then continue to grow it that way. And his growth has been exponential. Yes, absolutely. But guess what? He's been publishing for 10 years, at least 3 videos a week, 10 years, wow. Right? Yeah. Same thing, like, massive publishers, people that have books, people like, what is the one trait is consistency, right? So that's the first thing. Then another thing that, Fonzie loves to talk about this is the process of what happens when you put your thoughts into words and out to the world, right? Things start to happen. Things starts to click, right? There's things that we're saying here or that we're like involving this conversation that then that's why you see Fonzie writing stuff. That's why you see me like with the iPad here because we're grabbing that. And then that can become something else, right? That we can either monetize, we can sell
ideas,
products, and that's how the publishing pyramid was born, out of that interview, right? And then that became our keynote. We presented that at Podfest. The podcast profit formula was another one that was born out of that. We presented that at VidFest, and we're like, wow, what else can we do from here? So we continue to grow, but here's the thing, with the production and those assets that support that main piece of content going out consistently every single day, I'm multiplying points of contact, and we embed each one of those assets or those pieces of content with an ask, with a call to action. Where do I send them, right? Because people are going to meet you at events. People are going to meet you online. People are going to meet you through different shows, guesting. And then when they go check you out, they're like, who are these guys? Who are the BIZBROS, right? Who's Dan? They're going to see what we call the safety net content, right? It's all these pieces that are there consistently. And we're like, wow, they've been out there for like 5 years. Whoo, they're legit. Sweet, let me find out more. Where do I go? The ask is right there. Well, sounds good. Let's go to Dan's website. Here he goes. Here's his logo. And then guess what? They're in your universe now. And if they resonate with your message, which is the base, they're going to continue to be there, and then we can do more asks, and then we can add value to their life, and then they're going to purchase.
So there's 2 elements in here, right, that my brother has been sharing. And one of them is, first, a lot of people try to go for the big move, for the viral video. What is that viral video that I want that's going to make me famous, right? And success, it doesn't work like that. It's not somebody just taking one huge step. It's taking small steps on a consistent basis for long periods of time. Example, Mr. Beast, 10 years, 3 videos every single week, right? So what is that I can hold consistently for long periods of time? And then in the consistency side, we always said consistency is art. And art is actually an acronym for authority, relevancy, and trust, right? 3 things that you need for people to buy from you, right? So when you are consistent, when you're showing up in people's faces, right, every single time, you're building those elements into your brand. And guess what? Then it goes to the next step, which we call the frictionless sale, because you build so much trust that is easy for you, right? To make that ask, or even for people to ask you, hey, where do I find more of this? Where can I buy your stuff?
Yeah, there's so much there. The thing is, and it's just a fact, because, everybody lives through this. When a salesman first comes to you, your first thought is, dude, you're not going to be here in 3 months. And, and so when you see a new person out on, on social media going crazy, I'm like, dude, you're not going to be here in 3 months. I mean, I know this. I've seen it too many times. And you were nailing it right. We talked about it yesterday. One of the, I don't know if you've done much Jim Rohn reading or anything like that, but one of his famous quotes, everybody quotes Jim Rohn, is the definition of success is simple little disciplines practiced every day. Yeah. And that's all it is. And it's all about consistency. And you really can't fail. In fact, once you've reached that point that you don't even think about it, you're waking up and you're doing your thing. You've already succeeded.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, I want to add something real quick here. You said, right, you're the accountant, everybody's buying you hot dogs, you're selling products like hotcakes, right? So what is next for those once you have that consistent basis of content coming out, right? And what people don't seem to understand yet is that content is a gateway for opportunities as well, right? This relationship right here that we're building with you, Dan, right, was because of content. And who knows,
Absolutely.
this can escalate to some sort of business relation.
Well, absolutely. Well, because you said you spoke at Podfest
Podfest,
and you spoke at BizFest.
Yep.
Yeah,
And-
so I'm hoping we can get you at the Deej Fest.
Oh,
You know, that's it. That's
do
it. We gotta.
sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
Sign us up.
Yeah, so I've got a question. So you guys are talked to a lot of content creators, businesses of all varying sizes, and I love how Luis D talked about how you guys roll it all the way back, because I'm sure there's countless times where you'll talk to somebody and you ask them why do you want a show? Why are you creating this podcast? Why are you? And their answer is probably, well, this other person who does kind of the same thing I do has a really popular podcast or a really popular show, so I need one. Right? Is that a reason why? No, you got to go through those steps and determine like who your ideal viewer, customer, listener is, and then identify their problems, and then your content works to solve their problems. And I think, that's like so many content creators don't think about that. They don't. They think they can fire up the camera, and they should start ugly. You should go and keep going, get over that perfectionism and go, but make sure before you go, you know who you're talking to. And then that content works, and then you're off to the races.
Absolutely. And I know the question was directed to my brother here. I'm gonna steal the thunder real quick.
It's so good.
But at the same time, a lot of people start, right? Because, well, like you said, is what other people are doing. And sometimes there's a little bit of greed there. It's like, oh, I want to either be famous or just sell more, right? And I'm going to actually go back to a part of the conversation that we had with Dan in our podcast. He said, when you're selling something, if you believe in what you're selling, you're not going to accept a no, right? You're going to push for that person. And he gave the example of cancer. If you have the cure for cancer and you go and try to sell it to somebody and they say no, you're not going to move on to the next person, because you can cure that guy, right? You can help him, and you're going to show up and insist to sell him that solution, the cure for cancer. And guess what? That energy translates into content, right? It's that intrinsic motivation. And funny enough, we were actually talking with one of our mentors this morning that he's like going out more into the social media world.
Yeah.
And we're helping him a little bit with this. And he asked us that question. He's like, why, right? Like, what is it that makes people publish consistently and some others don't? So we talked about extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. And a lot of times, most people, and it's okay to start there, right? Like a lot of people we started there with the extrinsic motivation. Like, oh, we want to do it because we're going to make more money, right? But guess what? As you start publishing and as you build your product, build your business, you start realizing, I guess, something that really can help people here. Now we've been through the process of the internal changes that happen when you create content, and we're super passionate about it, and we want to deliver that to others. So now it becomes an intrinsic motivation. It's like, I got to put my message out there and show up and be in front of people so I can help them, right? So when you start going in there, I think that ties to who am I talking to? You start digging deeper into how can I actually help them, right? What is my positioning so I can pull the attention of the people that I can help best?
Yeah, and I think, and I want you to answer this question from Mark, but I think something's really important. The fact that you do this and you do it 3 times a week, people get to know you. People get to, see your style and all that stuff, because there's a lot of people that do content creation. There's a lot of people are out there and do the whole thing, but you want to have a good fit with people that are kind of like you.
Yeah.
And so if, I always tell that, people buy for 4 reasons. They like you, they trust you, they believe you, and then they'll have a desire. But it starts with like.
Yeah.
And so by being out there and putting your content, even if you're the accountant, you're going to find someone that kind of digs your program and they feel comfortable with you, and it's easier to get started.
Absolutely. At a level, and this is, after almost year and a half now of publishing our show, at a level, I do believe that people are really freaking scared of that, right? Are people actually going to like me, right? Because guess what? we went through that, right? Like if you see, like the recordings are locked up in the vault of that first podcast. Like that, I don't know. We're probably gonna sell those for like hundreds of thousands of dollars or something. Like I will pay for like to see this, right? In a few years. But it's like it was the perfectionism. It's like, man, like, and we were acting like so weird. Like we didn't have the hats. Like it was just.
This was my first comment when I heard my brother talking to the microphone. We turned on the whole roadcaster here. Yeah. He said his few words, and I turned to him. I looked at him. I was like, "Who are you?" I don't recognize this guy.
Yeah. So we're like, and we act very differently, like in camera. And but at the end of the day, like, there's a reason we show this. The reason we show this, right? Actually, a different setup a few months ago, and we're like, no, let's just show the whole thing. And it's like, dude, if it resonates, great. We've literally landed incredible relationships and partnerships out of a little Spider-Man, like little toy.
I mean, you have it right there. It's that one that is laying
over
down.
There, right? And it's this incredible partnership of an event that we go every single day, and we get clients, we get relationships out of it because of that figurine, because they're like, oh man, you like Spider-Man? Me too. And this guy's like a real estate investor, like millions of dollars, like works with Gary Vaynerchuk. And we're like, what? That was the thing. And yeah, because we like each other, like as in like the good, like as in we resonate, right? So that's really important. That's why we're full-fledged with all the colors and all the thing and the energy, just like you are, right? We got to be ourselves, and that's so wonderful because we got a space to do that.
Yeah, and the confidence of knowing and dealing with, some people don't like you. It's okay. People that don't like you generally don't buy, and they don't care, and they go somewhere else. So, but it's really tough because people are born. You kind of want people, to like you. But listen, hey, after a while, you kind of get used to it.
I know.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for that question. How do you measure metrics? How do you measure your success, right? So it really depends on what level of the publishing pyramid you might fit, right? Like at the very beginning, if you're transitioning from a consumer to a creator, literally the success there is like, am I creating, right? Like, because if we don't create, we cannot measure anything else, right? After we achieve mastery at consistency, like whatever that platform is, then we can start looking at numbers, and we can start looking, okay, what is resonating, what is working as far as like the message. Are people really tuning in? Are really people reacting to these things, right? So a good example for us was that sample of the number 5, right? People were listening. We were like, we don't think people are listening, right? Because sometimes we focus so much in like the one piece of content. I'll tell you, like our show publishes more than 400 pieces every month. There's a ton of stuff out there that we cannot really keep track of each one of them, right? But what we see is the general trend. So we didn't really see numbers on our show for the first 6 months. We're like, literally the focus is produce. Let's go, right? And obviously the first 20 episodes, it was just Fonzie and I just like talking about what we learned, similar framework of the 45 Live. And
if you guys want to cringe a little bit, just go back to those episodes and listen.
And then what happened was like we got to episode 20 and we're like, well, we're running out of things to say. What can we do, right? And we're like, let's bring people on. So we brought our coach, we brought several people, and we started understanding that content was a wonderful vehicle to build relationships, number one, and then also learn, and then build strategic partnerships, and then potentially clients, and then build reports and build art, like Fonzie was saying. So there's all these pluses that come out of the consistent publishing. Guess what? Because there's the machine on the back end, right, that we plug in with the M2M, and we create these assets on the back end, a safety net. Everything else continues to grow. So we don't even see the numbers. We just see the trend, right? What's happening, right? And the only factor that's going to stop that trend is if we stop publishing. But after that, we can start seeing, okay, well, maybe this episode resonated, right? So then we go back at, okay, what happened in this peak right here? Oh, we published that one video with that topic in this platform. That resonates. Perfect. We grab that as an indicator and we save it, right? And then we continue to publish, and we're like, what are the hooks that are working? What are the headlines that are working? What are the things that are resonating? So out of those 400 pieces, maybe 5 resonate, right? But if I don't put 400 pieces, I don't find 5. I find 0 probably, right? I got to multiply my opportunities. And then guess what? Those that resonate, then they can become products on their own. Ads. We just jumped out of an interview, right? And this guy that has run ads and video content for Frank Kern, Russell Branson, these incredible marketers, right? And what they're saying is like they work on frequency. There's like, how fast can I like really create to put stuff out there to see what works, right?
Yeah.
And then that's the secret right there, because then we can start grabbing those and be like, oh, sweet, we can maybe run a little bit of money to this with an ask, right? Let's ask people to like move to the next step, always an ask. But it serves you for that, and it helps you develop different pieces of your puzzle, of your product suite, of different solutions that we can offer.
This is a master class. You know, a lot of those other guys that you talked about, Frank Kern and the older guys that used to do that stuff, they would Joe Profit used to do this too, or Joe Polish. They would sell the product first and then create it. Like they didn't even make the product. They didn't want to waste the time making the product. They'd go sell, they see what sells, and then they hurry up and go ahead and do it, which is great. So you guys are you're doing great for yourselves. I notice all this stuff. You see what's working. You're doing all your metrics, all this stuff. What about for your customers? What about for your clients? Give me some success stories of them.
Yeah, absolutely. One that comes to mind is this amazing real estate company, local, Jacksonville Wealth Builders. So their CMO came went to us, and he was like, guys, I am trying to do this content thing for about a year, and I'm dedicating about 80 hours, right? 80 hours a month. This is a company, multi-million-dollar company, 80 employees. The CMO is investing 80 hours. It's like he believes in content, right? Like this guy is like, yes, I want to make it happen, right? And we're like, oh, okay, cool. Do you have all this stuff to do in your company? And it's like, absolutely, right? Like there's a lot of other stuff that we got to do. I'm like, why? Going back to your question, right? Why do you want to do this, right? And he's like, there's so much value. There's so much education that we can do here with our community, with the people, to bring them on to achieve that frictionless sale, right? What they sell is turnkey products, turnkey properties, right? With everything handled for them. So there's a little bit of education. So I sat in that position. I'm like, as a dream client, would I invest today? Probably not, because I don't know enough about that business, right? So we got to do that education. They recognize that. So we came and we're like, hey, Greg, the only thing that you need to do is 4 hours. We just need you for 4 hours. And it's like 4 hours a month, a week, done, sold. Like that's it, right? Because we're giving him the time back. But it was really 4 hours a month, right? Even more time back, right? And then we're gonna triple your output, right? Which means triple your opportunity, at least.
We call it the extrovert theory, right? We all have that friend that goes out and parties. It's probably Dan. It's probably Dan right here. And we're like, dude, how does he get to meet so many cool people, right? How does he get in front of so many cool opportunities? It's because the only reason is he just gets in front of more opportunities on a consistent basis. That is the purpose of this content, right?
Yeah. So what happened was they started with a very local show. Like they would bring these personalities from, Jacksonville and the city, and talk about the city, on the benefits of investing in the city, right? Because the clients are all over the country. So then pandemic starts, and we're like, okay, we cannot do a live, like in-person show anymore. Let's just transition online. Perfect. Even better, because it can be faster, right? We can execute faster. So the same framework started, and then people started asking me like, hey, we want more of this. Like, how can we find out more? So they started a community because of feedback. And then they started this incredible community, and they do the live show every Tuesday, right? And then people are like, but we have questions. How can we like ask you questions, Greg? Greg is the CMO, right? So they started a Q&A session on Thursday. So now they have the live show on Tuesday. They have the Q&A on Thursdays. And guess what? Where is the ask? Every single piece of content that they produce, and the ask is to jump on a call. Now the people were jumping on a call to buy multiple properties, 2 houses, 3 houses, investing $400,000. So now they have all this stuff because of the feedback that got created out of this content. Well, guess what? The content that we were producing for them out of those interviews and those Q&As work as a front end, like at the beginning of this process, to build art, authority, relevancy, trust,
and get people's attention, and then drive them to their community. So they were able to like triple sales, or like every quarter. It was incredible. Like it was, and they continue to do this. It's more than a year, and this became their one strategy that they're doing. Forget everything else. Like this is the one thing that they do. So that's at a very macro level with a big company, but the framework works literally everywhere. We had this amazing couple came in. They came in as a MLM people, right? They were like, we want to sell MLM products and MLM code, right? Yeah. And we're like, sounds good. So are we publishing? They're like, yeah, we're starting this podcast and blah, 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 right? So it started. Guess what? The wife was this incredible radio personality, right? And then they started doing the podcast together, and people were asking, how are you guys doing this? How are you guys doing the business? So the podcast transitioned from MLM
to a personal development thing with no brand whatsoever. There was nothing built up, but the consistency continued, right? And people kept asking. And then people kept asking, how do you two work together as a married couple? So then they grabbed that feedback and they're like, maybe there's something here. So the wife quit her job at the radio station and then came full-time to do the show, right? And now they're coaching couples on how to do this. This whole process was discovered through publishing, because if they don't put their message out there and we don't create consistently, we don't put the extrovert theory out into the world in whatever social media channel there is, right? We don't discover that feedback, right? Because we might miss DMs, we might miss comments, we might miss different headlines that we can put out there to test things out, right? And those are like a few like very opposite like side of the spectrum as in business goes, right? But they're found their why. And now they're running this coaching business and they're having a blast doing it, right? And they decide, okay, here's the reason of why I do this thing. And
I told you, Chris Stone, you're going to get goosebumps with these guys. I mean,
well, you know what though? There's one thing, and you kind of touched on it, Luis, but you glossed over a little bit. The value that it's clear, it's evident. You guys like everything that your client gets. It's gonna transform their business. There's no doubt. But there's one thing that they're going to get that you didn't really touch. Well, you touched on it a little bit. You're giving them time. You're selling time. They are going to have time to do their business, the other things that they need to focus on. They know they need to get their content game together. They know they need to get their show together. They could probably figure out how to do their own show, but they don't have the time. They don't have the people and the resources and the time. You're giving them back their time, and that's super, super valuable. Dan, I think you'd argue that that's probably the most valuable thing is your time.
Well, yeah, it's the only thing you can't get back. You know, everything else you
Awesome.
got to do something with. So who is your perfect customer now? Like somebody watching this, is there a vertical that you're not good with, or is there some that you're more prone to doing really well with? Like what would work really well? If I was a kazoo player, you know, at the circus, would that be a good customer for you?
That's like, what's happening? I'm gonna answer this question with one word. You, Dan.
Me. I'm your perfect customer.
You are a perfect customer.
How much does it cost?
I'm going to explain why.
Let's do a sales call right now. All right. Well, listen, I'm thinking about making content and having to get out to build my brand. I'll tell you what I want. You know what I want? I want 50 leads a month. I want 50 somehow on good people conversations a month.
Absolutely. How many? I'm curious. How many leads are you getting right now, Dan?
Like less than half of that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say less than half a lead.
Okay, let's have single digits. If I'm not going out myself, pounding the phone because I like it, I get next to Gunish. Gunish is a Yiddish word for nothing, nada, zilch.
Awesome. I'm curious, how much content are you producing right now? How much content are you putting out there into the world for people to see you and connect with you?
I do 5 days a week. I do a little 2-minute motivational video. Hey guys, it's the Deej with your Sales Energizer tip of the day. And I do that one for, and that goes out on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so that's where it goes there. And then I do a show like this once a week. And then, probably the best thing I'm doing to get new clients is I love this whole thing, this live stuff. And I'll invite companies and people and CEOs and things like that to come on the show, and I'll interview them there. And then it's a quick in, which is a really good one. Are you applauding me?
Yes.
That is a great way, by the way.
I know it's the world's best way. It's awesome, but I need maybe I should just market to say, hey, if you want to come on the show. Well, anyway, so that's what I do, and that's what I want. So what would you recommend for me?
Yeah, so I'm curious on how much time are you spending, let's say a week. How much time are you spending a week creating this content, making sure it's edited, making sure you're publishing in the right platforms, captions, and then also are you even leveraging the effort that you're putting into these hours to create more content, to create more points of contact with your prospects.
Yeah, that's where I'm falling down, because Jenna. So this, if you want to know my schedule. And thank you for this counseling program here, because I need it. This is good. But
I'm really enjoying this, by the way.
Yeah, if you really want to know my...
And by the way, that was your idea? Just so you know.
Yeah, so listen, you know, this is a sales call. So, you know, if you guys don't close me, I and everyone else is going to be annoyed.
Pressure's on. Now I cannot do the fist up thing because I'm going to have the therapist down.
But isn't it funny though? As soon as I said though, this is a sales lesson right now. As soon as I said, okay, this is a sales call, both of you guys, your intonation, your voices, and your mannerisms changed. You turned on sales breath. I could smell it right here. Yeah, but no, listen, this is a teachable moment. Okay,
absolutely.
Stick with me. Okay, but we're still friends, so we're still doing that. So my schedule is set in a way that I can do all this stuff in the morning before I do anything, and then I get my day started. So I get up at 3:30, 4 a.m. I get ready. I go into the office by 6:30. I have the videos done, uploaded. See you later, potato. Taken care of. I write little blogs that go along with those, and they get written over the weekends. And so when I sign up, I could just click and cut and paste and put them in there. But they're not kind of followed up on, other than, you know, if somebody likes the video, I'll go and do that.
So it's pretty much taking you like 3 hours a day. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. Let's go with, yeah, because then I do a lunchtime thing, and I'll just, let's say it's taking me 3 hours a day. Yeah.
Awesome. I know. I love it. And the reason I'm asking is because if 3 hours a day, that's if you're just working from Monday to Friday, that's 50 hours, 15 hours every single week, right? That you're investing in this. That's 60 hours that you're investing a month in content, right? And again, we all believe in content. I'm sure you do, because you're putting so much effort into it. But then my question is, you want to get all these leads. And I know you are the master at cold calling, right? What could you do if you could spend, out of those 60 hours, if you could spend 40 of those hours cold calling people? Would you think you will get those 50 leads that you're asking me about?
Well, yes, but you know, don't kill me. I have other stuff I'd like to do other than that. But you're absolutely right. That would work. But what I think I'm falling down is all those pieces of content that I'm using. They go once.
Yeah,
you know, they go once, and then they're dead, and there's not really a call to action on any of them.
So that's what we're saying, right? So let's say you invest less time into creating these assets, right? Let's say instead of the 60 hours a month that you're spending, you spend the 20 creating these long form pieces of content. And all you gotta do is then send it to us. You submit it into the content hub that we create for you, and then you submit your content right there. And in 3 to 5 business days, you get all these assets that have call to actions included, so people know exactly where to find you. They know exactly how to contact you, right? And then, regardless of, you know, you can publish it yourself. If you have an assistant, you can publish it, or if you want to do it to us, we can publish it for you as well, right? We can put it in whatever social media it is that your customers are.
Do you ever worry that sometimes you say some amazing, valuable snippet of content, and then somebody might miss it?
Oh, but not only I worry that people miss it, and then I worry that people like you are going to steal it.
Sometimes we always attribute the golden boulders to their
of course. You know, creators have tons and tons. You know, sometimes I'll read an old book that I've written, or I've been keeping a journal for the past 25 years. Sometimes I read through that and I'm like, dang, that was good.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even remember thinking it. You know, it's like you're learning all over again when you read your stuff.
So there's a phase in our process that we call the value index, right? And we call the safety net. So let's say you want to take a little vacation, you want to go away for like a month, right? And you've been working with us. We can always grab more content out of that value index without you having to create more, right? So there's gonna be that safety net of content that's there for you with your message, right? So we're gonna grab those golden boulders, valuable moments, and continue to talk on your message, right? We talked about the publishing pyramid, right? The message. What is the real message that we want to say to your specific audience, so they resonate. We can test and we can be like, okay, sounds good. The first thing that we need is to put a volume out there to see what's actually working and resonating. After we start finding these things, we can start creating more content around that, and then that creates that flywheel that's going to continue to evolve and grow. And if you're the master of the ask, sounds good. We just need a place for them to land. So we're going to start measuring that, right?
I like that. MOTA. Master of the ask.
Master of the ask. So all this together consistently, that's what's going to make the difference, right? And again, we promise, our main promise is giving you your time back and working 100% to make sure that this happens. As far as like the 50 leads, I really hope we do. But again, different markets, different message. But at the very beginning, we got to start with something so we can start measuring and going that route.
So my job will be an hour or so a week doing this. And all the videos that I make, if I'm on a speech or I do so, I just videotape everything and I just send everything to you.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Raw, no editing, no nothing. So there's an initial session that we do with you to obviously discover that message. We can revisit after a couple of weeks, after a couple of months, how often we need to go that. But that's the base of what are we actually distilling from your content. Now it's not just the fun intro. I mean, that could take up that has a place on social, but it's like, what is the valuable thing that resonates with your message, with the people that you want to attract? So that consistently over a long period of time, we're in the money.
All right. I'm waiting for the close.
So
this is a
where do you want to start? You want to start this week?
Oh, come on. That's too hard. Okay. Okay. I'm going to teach you something. Please. Okay. This is really good. And actually, my buddy, James Murr, who was on this show too, he wrote a book called The Perfect Close. You ought to get it, but I'll tell you what it is right now. And the perfect close, how do you spell Muir, Christone?
M-U-I-R.
M-U-I-R. Great guy. And a great book. And he actually wrote this perfect. It's documented. HubSpot, which you've heard of, has interviewed or listened to 1 million sales calls, 1 million. And this is the best close out of 1 million. The top producers use it 5 and 6 times a day. It's the best call. I wish I'll keep on talking because I want to get it perfect. And my brain is trying to get it going here.
That's okay. I'm adding it to the carousel on Amazon. So there's
okay.
And a sip.
Basically, so based on all that, would it make sense for us to move forward?
Based on all that, would it make sense for us to move forward?
Yeah. So would it make sense for us to move forward? I mean, just think how cool that is, how easy that is to go. And so I'm thinking to myself, what's moving forward look like?
Yeah.
And then so let's do it. Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, I guess I want to. What does moving forward look like?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a few options, right? Depending on where
set up the appointment, will you? Just set up the appointment.
So content, all you want. This is why we're here. This was the real content with Dan. Sounds good. Can you do tomorrow, 9 a.m.?
Ooh. Well, actually, let me look at my calendar. I'm going to do it right now here. This is, what's more exciting TV?
Right. So let me ask you why Dan's looking at it. At his calendar. Is it M to M? Is that the system that you mentioned?
That's the framework.
Is that proprietary? Is it your system, or is it based on a number of things that you're pulling together? So you guys built the system to do that. So is it using artificial intelligence, a combination of that and or are you guys just going through and pouring through this content?
Yep. So that is a great question, right? When we started with the content, one of the frustrations, especially mine, it was a huge frustration, is that I will see a lot of content, right? People just posting for the sake of posting, right? And I was like, man, the idea of this is
that's what I do.
is to educate, right? And then we want people to make a decision to take the next step, right? So call to actions. And since we joined this online entrepreneurial world, we have been very indoctrinated into direct response marketing. So for us, it became a matter of how do we include these direct response marketing principles within the multi-purposing that we're doing. So first, for that, we needed to learn what's in the content, right? So are we talking about stories, epiphanies, sales moments, right? Like this sales segment right here would be in an incredible long-form content, right? Because it's a lesson, a masterclass of its own. Yeah. So we have somebody inside our team. At first, it was literally ourselves just doing this. Now we have a team that is helping us out, and they start, listening to the whole episode. And as the episode goes, they start tagging these places, right? This also goes hand in hand with the onboarding process, where we learn the message of the customer, because we want to make sure that the message is relevant for their audience as well. So now our team is going and they're tagging, oh, there's an epiphany here. This is perfect for a quote right here. This is an incredible story that talks about sales and might change internal beliefs of their clients, right? So they go doing that over the entire piece of content. After that, we move in to the next stage, right? Which is, if I'm not mistaken, is the design aspect, right? And then we move into the design aspect. We have a designer that comes in and they're just putting their creative efforts. And also, when we do the onboarding process, we design how all this is going to look like with the client, so they're happy of the other process. After this, they move on into the editing, which we have a video editor in the team that they do their magic effects. If you got to put over I forgot the technical name of it. Overlays, transitions, whatever you got to put in there to make it look nice and tasty, you do that. And then we go into what is called the quality control, right? We want to make sure that every single thing that comes out is not only looking great, but it actually has a marketing message, right? We want,
but someone like me, now I kind of know all this stuff. You're talking about the direct marketing. That's, Russell Brunson, Frank Kern stuff. But a guy like me, I don't need to know any of that garbage you're doing in the back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All I need to know is that 3 to 5 days later, my phone's ringing.
Yep.
Your Slack channel that your team has direct access to our team. So that's we're your in-house content team, right? So you'll be like, hey, your content is ready on your content hub, right? So and you're good to go, and everything is fully assembled. So on that first session, that's where we kind of agree upon on that. We call it content maps, right?
Yeah.
What is the general feel of this? What is the structure of the videos? We actually build in hooks in there. So curiosity, like all these aspects that the client doesn't need to know the nitty gritty. Like if they want to, absolutely, we can share, we can nerd out 100%. But at the end of the day, what is the output that we're receiving, right? And we're going to ask you, what is your dream output? Like, where do you want to be consistently all this time? Because it is possible.
Yeah, I just want to be as cool as you guys one day.
Transcription, is that involved in written, not just visual and social? Are you guys involved in because a lot of this stuff too, including what we're talking about here, if this was transcribed, you could create or have someone. I mean, it does take a human to make a well-written blog out of content like this and to draw them in. Are you involved in that as well, or is it mostly the visual and social stuff?
Just mainly the visual and social right now at this point. We've thought about doing that, but it takes resources to, hey, let's start this, testing it. We test all the frameworks on our content at first, and we're not focused on the blog side. So at this point, we're not doing it. It's just for the people that want to be omnipresent on the social media side.
One of the aspects that we could potentially give out that we've done for a few clients is the transcript itself, the raw transcript. And then if they have somebody in place that they can do that, then we can play that route. One of the awesome things that came from listening to the current clients and the audience was, as soon as we, a solution is going to cause a follow-up problem, right? So there, a lot of it was like, man, like I'm receiving my dream output of content. And then the question is like, how do I actually put these out, right? So there was like a lot of overwhelm for people that had no systems or maybe a team that's in there. So there's a couple of solutions. One is we actually can have, if there's a team member, a VA or somebody that works within the company on that aspect, we train them on the framework and we're like, this is exactly what you're getting every single week. Here's how we distribute. And we create the distribution framework, the base one. And then what happens is, as soon as we start hitting consistency, we're going to start seeing trends. Hey, people are responding to this. This is beautiful. This is it. So we have those regular calls with those teams and we start saying, okay, what's working? What's not? Are you comfortable? Are we actually getting the content out, right? We had a client that they kept receiving content and it's 3 months and they're they're not publishing anything. It was like, what's happening, right? And they were trying to do it themselves. And this, as soon as we put that person in place, you know, and that's a 1 hour, 2 hour a week kind of task. It's not expensive at all to put it in place. That start to flow, right? But if they don't want to deal with that, then that was the feedback. We got a system where now we have the person writing the captions, making sure that everything is compliant, making sure that it goes out regularly and automatic. So literally the job of the creator is to create, and then we lift all that weight and it feed it through the machine, and it comes out a week later, nice and dandy.
Yeah. In that scenario, it would be sends the content, and then he's using grabbing that phone. Hey,
well, once you get me and it works, you know, the sky's the limit. You're in the house.
You know what the perfect pitch is for Dan, and it's this. Are you guys ready? Listening?
Right.
Here we go. What we do is we allow you to be a star. All you've got to do is go talk in front of your camera and your microphone, and then go back to your trailer and be a star.
Yeah, that's it. That's how you get me. I'm very superficial.
Mic drop right there. That's a mic drop.
Yeah, I'm very superficial. Well, that's terrific, guys. So how do I cannot believe it's been an hour already. I tell you this? So
wait, Dan, sorry.
There's more.
Real
Okay.
quick.
All right.
No, I just wanted to back up to the original question that triggered this whole sales masterclass that you just gave us. Which the question was, who's your perfect customer? And I said you, because you published long form video content and you have a business with a solid sales system on the back, right? So that's what I said to you. I mean, obviously we would love and be honored to have you be part of the Content Momentum family, right? Yes. But that is who we're talking about when we are discussing about who is that perfect customer.
That's excellent. Okay, good. So people should know, if you are comfortable with making long form content and you enjoy the sales process, or you at least have a sales process, then it makes sense to do this, to get the leads. Yeah, because you're right. What's the point of getting leads if you can't close them down at the end? But by the way, just so that you guys are out there listening, if that is a challenge for you, if you're getting tons of leads but you can't close, you're for the Deej all day long. We'll show you how to build the superhuman salesperson. You know, that's what it is. That's what you get. Superhuman salespeople when we do. Okay, so how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, social media at BIZBROS Co. Literally everywhere. Or if you search Luis Camejo, you're gonna see 2 orange pictures in there. Either of us is perfect. So
not only the same name, but the same profile picture too.
Yeah. If you enjoy podcasts or shows like this one, you can go to Content is Profit. We're literally in every single platform. You can find us there and listen to Dan's episode. That was so good. Also a mastermind on sales and cold calling, especially. You know, Fonzie got his, you know. That was very well invested.
I'm telling you, I've had that phrase in my head since, and I've used it a few times, right? Just so you know.
Which one? I wonder if you can help me.
Yeah, I wonder.
That's magic words. Okay. Well, guys, if you guys watching here, thank you so much for being here, and for all you watching and all the platforms out there. Understand the reason why these people are successful and will continue to be successful is because of this interview right here. They have a special quality. It's a gift. There's a million people that do what they do, but these two guys are exceptionally likable. And they're likable because they're authentic, they're pure and clean, and you get the feeling they're doing things because they want to make the whole marketplace environment better, more honest and trustworthy. And you guys are doing a great job at it. It's been I feel blessed to have had you on the show. And for all you people watching, eat well, live long and prosper, and I wish nothing but good things to happen to you all for the rest of your life. Go get them today.